All right, and here we are getting into it. Game one of the Lots Invitational Qualifier, and oh boy, we got the thing. Thank you, Jip. Look at this, it's beautiful. It's the mouse cursor position of the players. We haven't seen this yet on FAF Live. It's a brand new feature, but we can see exactly where these players are looking, at least approximately. We can see him go around, move the mouse, place the mouse, mass extractors, look around, see what he's doing. See Archsimkat's cursor over here. It's very beautiful. See Arch looking over at Shen's base. Yeah, and this has been one of the features I have kind of wanted for a long time, and I really appreciate Jip and all the people on the games team getting together and producing this. Looks like we'll see first Mech Marine out of both. First and second Mech Marine out from Shen. Just first Mech Marine out from Archsimkat. So Shen will be sending a Mech Marine around both sides, whereas Archsimkat will just be sending one around the bottom here. Mech Marine versus Mech Marine fights can be very volatile. Alright, we got the engage. Looks like Archsimkat's managed to shoot a little bit faster and survives on 4 HP. That's actually very lucky for him. The problem is when you don't have scouts with your Mech Marines, these fights are basically a bit RNG. Now, you can micro them to your success if you want, but yeah, see, a single snoop out from Shen can clean up the remaining Mech Marines, so no huge loss there. Arma in the chat pointing out that he's only played it twice. Very nice. But Shen will get his second Mech Marine out in the back, and this is a completely unprotected reclaiming engineer, so we might be seeing a bit of the map inexperience from Arch here. Mech Marine gonna show up just when it needs to and take out that engineer. This is a beautiful pickup. Archsimkat actually desperately needs this reclaim. Mech Marine versus Mech Marine fight. Bit of micro there, but Archsimkat does come out on top because he does have the scout providing vision for the Mech Marine, which helps. Looks like he will have an engineer out in time. Grab this reclaim, but I don't know if there's enough because it will delay things slightly. Although he actually has this engineer over here, so he should be fine. A bit of an unfortunate pickup, and look at this. Archsimkat gonna go greed with the second land, but he's going to give the full respect that a second air opening deserves, and he's going to preemptively build the MAA and the scout. That's a ton of respect. And it's absolutely undeserved in this case. Shen has no plans at any points to build an air factory in the near future. Yeah, I might have let Bents run a bit too long, but there is no option between 5 minutes and 10 minutes, and 5 minutes is often not enough. Now, Arch is getting a nice scout into the back. Oh, and wow, look at that! Beautiful reclaim by Shen. Even for a snoop, he's like, no, I'm not going to let that snoop into the back. I'm not going to let Arch see if I'm building my Hydro. Very quick on the reclaim there from Shen. Very impressive. Gonna deny that intelligence. But we're going to see Arch come out with Air Factory 4th. Can he even afford all this? Is a lot of stuff. Actually, he can. He's gotten a lot of the reclaim 2.4k to Shen's only 1.4k. So he's basically a full factory up. But Shen does have this very nice radar that allows him to see basically everything. And he's going to try to sneak this tank around the back. Clean up that Mech Marine. Have a nice time. Now this scout could be picked up, but 2 tanks from Arch going to come in, try to save the day. Yeah, 2v1 fight. A bit of micro there from Shen. Gonna try to save it a little bit, but that's not gonna happen. Shen just being very aggressive this game, which I very much appreciate. And now Bomber out from Archsimkat. He's gonna see, alright, there's no air. And immediately in response to seeing that air scout, Shen is going to build the anti-air turret. Wow, triple dodge, but only gonna save 2 of the engineers there. Third one gonna go down. Oh, and the 2 NGs clumped in the Hydro in the back, gonna take both of them out. This is brutal already, and it's still alive. He has to respect the static AA in the base, but he knows about it. Oh, he's actually just going to get picked off because there is also a mobile anti-air that provided, I guess, some firing damage onto that. But Arch did a lot of damage, but now he's going to get tanks running into the back of his base. Archsimkat losing this fight in the back of his base, and once these tanks get established here, it's going to be a big problem. Arch's going to try to clean up with a bomber, but hills are making that a bit difficult. This Hydra's going to get denied, and it'll be an interesting decision. Does Shen stay and kill off the Hydra, or does he keep moving? Raid the mass extractors. These are UEF structures, so they do have a good bit of health. Oh, look at this. He's just going to split them up into 2 separate groups, 3 separate groups even. Nicely splitting them up. I mean, at some point, are we going to see Shen respond with any air of his own? Looks like he does not plan on it. Just planning on using anti-air to cover his bases. He's currently got 2 mobile anti-air over on the left side army. And Archsimkat eventually going to clean this up on the right. He's going to have his Hydra denied, but there's, you know, there's a bit of reclaim here now, which is nice. Especially on a map like this, where T2 land is absolutely a viable option. One of the very few 5x5s where T2 land is viable. At least in the early stages. You can just rush it because the choke points here, they're so narrow that the effective concave you can get with a T1 army is... just gives a brutal defender's advantage. But look at these. This is classic Archsimkat right here. He's getting the bombers out. He's harassing outlying positions. He's bombing the T1 mexes. But ACU positioning is very interesting. Both players sending their ACUs over here to the left side. We've got Shen maybe looking to catch Arch out here. Arch does not have particularly good intel, and Shen just scouted his ACU. That could be a bit dangerous. But the bombers here are getting good value. Killed this mass extractor. Killed this mass extractor. Might be able to get into the back and start threatening these mass extractors and maybe the Hydro. Oh, and there's even more NGs building power spam in the back. But Archsimkat has to be very respectful of this army. And he's going to back up. He's going to retreat away from the ACU. It's kind of an awkward retreat because he doesn't really want to retreat towards the middle. He'd rather retreat towards his army. But if he did that, he would get caught out. And of course, Shen, he's going to force the ACU away here. He doesn't have to fully commit to chasing Archsimkat away. He can turn back and start pressuring the base, or he can follow, which really gives him some strategic flexibility. And now we're going to see these bombers start to be a bit less effective as there are just so... Actually, I say that. This is kind of brutal. 2 bombers... and 1 pass on both of them, and they kind of paid for themselves. That's the brutal fact about UEF bombers. They can just sort of, they hit a nice clump of units, and they damage like 2-3 tanks to 50% HP or lower. That pays for itself, at least mass-wise. And now this is a brutal crush. Shen is completely outnumbered on the left flank. He's going to have to retreat. Arch's going to... he's sending his bombers directly into the main base. Oh, he's going for the power NGs. Oh, that's brutal. 3 NGs down. Gonna make sure they're dead. Static AA gonna pick up the first bomber. And the second one, but... a bit dicey. I almost want to see him, like, get 3-4 bombers and kill this static AA. He's going for the energy storage now. That's a very valuable target, as it looks like Shen... he's trying to figure out what to do with his ACU. Arch has grouped up with his army on the right side here. Shen could try to engage here, force him out of the choke, but that's a bit dicey. You could risk getting run on by Arch's army. But he's going to pull back. He's going to engage on the left side. The economy is very even for both these players, but we're really seeing Arch trying to leverage air to the best of his ability. And I think he's getting some value out of it. Though it's hard to say if it will be enough, because these bombers are all dying to mobile anti-air. Like that one, unfortunately, didn't drop because of the mountain. in theory, he should get a lot of the reclaim. Now, this could be the game changer right here. Shen starting to get his upgrade on gun. Does he have the power for that? He does. This is one nice thing. You're not building air. You've got more power to spare. Even with less power, you can start getting that gun. Arch could probably start affording the gun as well. He's got mass problems on the horizon, but he's going to need it if Shen has it. And there we go. We're going to see Arch start the gun a bit later. But he's going to mass stall while he's building that gun, so he will get it much slower. It's possible, even, wow, look at this double engineer assist on Shen's ACU. He's rushing it, and he has all the resources in storage to make that happen. But Arch will see that this gun is coming out really fast. The question is, can Shen force Arch to cancel? He's only at about 20%. He's got 2 engineers coming over to assist him, but there is this force here.
Commander under attack.
There are 7 Lobos that are harassing him. A right click on the ACU with the Lobos might be enough to force him to cancel. Looks like Shen, he's going to do perhaps the safer option. He's going to get gun, and he's going to not meet the other gain ACU, but he's going to go force the base. Because there is no T2 land. There's basically no defensive option here. So we might see a base trade situation going on here. Arch still about 2/3 of the way done with that gun upgrade. And he's coming around. Shen is going to start denying this space, deny these 3 mass extractors, and push into the base as quickly as possible. And Arch does have a lot of his power on the left side of his base, which could be a serious problem because Shen strategically has put his power away from the ACU's path of attack here. It's very hard to push into these factories, but if you've got the power sort of exposed here next to the first line of factories, it's much more vulnerable to, ACU overcharges. But Shen is having a bit of trouble navigating through these chokes. It is a bit difficult, but now Archsimkat has his gun. He's going to start pushing through. And we're starting to see the fall off of T1 land here. It's interesting. There are a lot of mech marines here. I'm not sure if these are intentional or not. But they are really overkilled by a gun ACU. Which might make them almost sort of effective. Alright, Shen now moving in with the main attack. Bombers doing their best to harass. Artillery trying to deal as much damage to this invading army as possible. But we're seeing the initiative really going to Archsimkat here. Both, like, Shen's reinforcements are being routed this way to the opponent's gun ACU. Yeah, these chokes are very difficult to push through. And we're seeing emergency PD being built defensively behind the factory line. It's very difficult for gun overcharges to hit this. Like, you can see it's actually blocked by the factory from the most likely overcharge path. So it will have to be sort of a slow and steady attack. Although this is like almost half Lobo, which is exactly what you want. So much DPS versus structures. First factory on the horizon just immediately crumbles to Lobos. And we're seeing Shen trying to threaten a concave here, getting a nice concave, being like, alright Arch, if you want to push through, oh, beautiful overcharge. That was just beautiful. Archsimkat already up to 40 kills with his AC. Threatening that if he pushes forward and overextends, he could get crushed. But he has to make sure that he doesn't lose too many of these units. Though the trick will be, can Shen would crush the base before Archsimkat threatens the base trade, and Shen just has to slow push this. And that's the big thing. Yeah, because he's hovering his cursor, getting the overcharge as soon as it's off cooldown. There's a manual OC on the PD, and now there's no PD here. Arch's base very much in jeopardy. He's got some more power in the back. He's got a lot of bombers on standby. But he's starting his own slow push. Neither player are really going for a T2 land type play, which is really what you need if you want to, like, hold off a gun ACU without, your own gun ACU. These players both doing the slow and steady base trade. Shen actually looks like he's thinking about pressuring into the back, doesn't want to go directly into the main base. Thinking about pressuring into the back, threatening all his power back there. See, both these players, like Arch especially, he's on low power. He can't overcharge off every time it's off cooldown. But Shen, because he hasn't lost any power. Oh my god. Oh my god. There's a ghetto. There's a ghetto plan. He got T2 air. Arch doesn't even know. He hasn't scouted. He hasn't scouted the back in ages. Oh, this is extremely dangerous. Maybe this is why they're mech marines. You can just load them up. But like, Archsimkat has 10 interceptors. So you need a lot of ghettos to be ready to go and do that. Because otherwise, if you build like one, the inties will be able to take it down before your AA can kill the inties. So we'll have to see. Shen has to just build his own inties and then win air. He's got one ghetto, he's gonna get a second. But the trick will be to hide this. Meanwhile, bombers coming out. There's actually more bombers than this mobile AA can handle. But the inti's coming in to try to save the day, but Shen pulling back with his ACU. He's going to rely on this ghetto-based all-in play. Trying to push Arch's ACU back, but he's going to have to retreat with his own ACU. Almost starting to cut him off here, but this is not quite enough units to do that. Alright, here comes the ghetto. It's not quite full, and Arch does have a lot of intis, but they're on the other side of the map. Arch's currently sitting at 1400 HP, basically full vet, but he has no AA of his own. Arch immediately going to rally all of his interceptors onto the ghetto, and look at this engage. He's trying to get in the back, but Arch doesn't let it happen. He's going to take all of Shen's intis out and then go in to kill the ghetto. He's going down into below 10k HP, it looks like, but just barely. That's still a very full health ACU, and he's almost a third vet. So he's feeling pretty safe here. There's a second transport out now, but Shen gonna call GG. He's surrounded and he's getting bombed. I admire the gall, but Archsimkat takes game 1 in the series. Now this is a best of 3, so Shen does still have time to come back into the game and take it.